Welcome to Motorcycle News and another in our review of our 2025 long-term test fleet. Today we've got our pet racing snake, Carl, and his S1000RR, and you've been like a dog with two appendages this year with this bike, and I can kind of gather why. So, basics first, how long have you had it, how many miles you've done, and tell us what sort of use you kind of had with it.
Yeah, so I've had this for just shy of 6,000 miles now. Picked up in February, did the first test on it at the beginning of the year and have had it up until now. So yeah, been able to do quite a lot on it. Lots of sort of 30 to 60 mile an hour rides, you know, when you put on some proper kit, go and have some fun. Lots of sort of 200 mile slogs down the A1, around the M25 to see my parents. So it's done a fair bit of like the usual stuff that you do. And I also rode it from where we are in Peterborough to Linz in the middle of Austria in summer, which was quite nice. And then I flew my wife out and we came back 2 up on it as well. So yeah, it's done that. It's been out on track a couple of times, as you might expect. And yeah, I've tried to sort of just do as much as I can with it with, you know, the good weather that we've had.
Sure. And maybe we'll start with the good bits. So what are the bits that kind of really excite you when you kind of open the garage door, and the bits that you're looking forward to and really appreciate?
I think now we're in 2026, just the fact that we've got all these superbikes back is amazing, because every time I open the door at the garage and look at those big wings, that, you know, that mighty superbike stance, it's something that just never gets old. No matter what type of bike you ride, like if it's an adventure, if it's a naked, like nothing sort of scintillates me like a full-blooded superbike. And, you know, like I know they sort of a bit Marmite, but I think like the wings they add it, like it just looks menacing. It looks like it's built for speed, and that's what superbikes should be. They should be the pinnacle, and that's, you know, where tech has sort of gone. And to be honest, I think the main thing about it is you get on it and you just forget how fast litre bikes are. Don't you? Like, litre bikes are so fast.
Yeah, so I mean, we borrowed not this one, but one exactly like it for our litre bike test a few months back, and yeah, it's alarming. I can't remember what I've got off before, but it was a fair bit slower. So yes, they're quite the thing.
Yeah, I think that's sort of what biking's about for me as well, because you get on it and every time it's sort of, you know, you get the little bumblebees in your stomach, and you get out and you can have a raz. But then
good bumblebees, not butterflies.
Oh, butterflies!
Getting stung.
Yeah, mine are going nuts. That's what it is. But then on the flip side, it's so easy and so manageable with this thing. Like, it's very, very refined. Even at like sort of at slow speeds, at motorway speeds, it is super calm and super friendly.
And I think that's kind of a bit of a USP for the S1000RR for a good few years now, because I mean, they've been almost the outlier in the fact that they still sell a decent amount here in the UK, whereas kind of everything else, your R1s, Fireblades, whatever it might have been, has sort of dropped off a cliff, really, and they're quite small sellers for those manufacturers, but these reliably turn out hundreds and hundreds every year, which is good these days. And it's that kind of depth of ability. So you sort of talked about doing sort of greater mileage and things like that, so we can almost skip the performance side because it's more than most people can use.
Yeah, it's quite gnarly when you set it loose, but like just as a generic road bike, if you're looking at one for the road, it has got a real docile side to it when you're sort of, you know, if you're pottering along sitting at 70. A couple of really nice features on this is it's got cruise control and it's got heated grips. Now there's 3 settings on the heated grips. They're really good, really effective. Even though there's no handguards per se, they are very strong, and the cruise control is really nice. It's easy to switch on, it's easy to go up and down on speed, and they're just nice things to have, aren't they?
They are, yeah. And I know some people find cruise control is, they might think that it's a weird thing to have on a sports bike. We've had this discussion before.
Yeah.
Actually, it's probably more valuable on something like this.
Yes, 100%. Like I'm an old man now. I like to chill out when I'm on the motorway. And just having cruise control means you can just give your wrists a bit of a break. You can like what might be a 2 or 3 hour ride where you're starting to feel achy, you can then double that because you can spend some time, you know, moving back, moving forward, you know, the old elbow on the tank. It just gives you a little bit more freedom, and it's so helpful for like 50-mile-an-hour averages, because the throttle on this thing, it's actually got a quick action throttle for the 2025 model, and it doesn't take much just to go whoop without even noticing.
Yeah. And obviously this one is highly optional. We should talk about that actually, because I think base price is about 18 grand.
Yeah.
Tell the viewers how much this one is.
Yeah, so it was quite a shot actually when I added it up in the catalogue. This is just shy of 30 grand. So when you look at, you know, the S1000RR, you think it's great value for money. Like, it's sort of in the ballpark, especially when you're looking at the 2026 models. You've got the ZX10 and you've got the GSX-R, which are both a slight amount cheaper. But actually, when you start speccing it up, like this has got the M package, which has got carbon wheels, adjustable rear sets, it's got, you know, the exhaust. It's just caked in goodies, and even electronically, like the extra modes are an extra, you know, the heated grips and the cruise control, like all of these things add up, and to be just shy of 30 grand is pretty savage in my opinion.
It's eye-watering, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I mean, what would you get if you took off those packs back and took it back down to an 18 grand bike? Would you still have electronic suspension? What are the kind of bits that we're talking about?
Yes.
Do you still have?
Yeah, so it comes down really basic, but in all honesty, I don't actually think that you'd miss some of these bits too much. So for example, one of the things I don't like about this bike is the hill hold control.
Yeah.
So like on the bigger GSs and stuff like that, it works really well. It's really intuitive, really smooth. But I find with this S1000RR, because it's got that much more oomph, that much more go, because it's, you know, it's quite eager. Like the hill hold control, you want to get a bit going before you're sort of moving and stuff like that. I don't really think it needs. Like, I'd almost prefer it to be a little bit more basic. Like, we're going to talk about the electronics in a bit anyway. But I think, like, especially if you're not riding on tracks, we could do without the carbon wheels. Like, that wouldn't be too much aggro. It's always nice to have a pipe, but you can always get a cheaper aftermarket pipe as well. So, you know, these little things. And if you're not bigger, you don't really need the adjustable rear sets either. They're yeah, they're really nice to have, but not a complete necessity.
No, well, I mean, to be fair, kind of Neves and I were on the group test for this, and we're a bit lankier than you, so we did appreciate it. But tell you what we didn't appreciate is the seats. This is an M seat of some sort, isn't it? How have you got on with that?
So I'm going to break this down as both good and bad. Now, the riding position on this BMW is, well, it's huge. It's massive. It's really roomy. It's really comfortable if you're bigger. Like for me, it's almost too big. So this seat actually raises the seat height as well. So I believe this is now 880mm, and I've only got I'm only 5'7". I've only got a 28-inch inside leg, and I can barely touch the floor on this thing.
Actually, when I looked at the figures, it's higher than a GS is before you start fitting the lowering kits and the lowering suspension. And
obviously, you know, it's an inline four, it's quite wide. It is a big bike. Like, do you remember like the original RS V4s? Even if you jump on a Fireblade now, they feel quite small, quite compact. This thing doesn't. If you're sort of a bigger rider, this is amazing. It's so roomy, so spacious. You can even see like the space from, you know, tank to the back of seat pad. It's massive. Like, if this was something that I was going to be riding on track quite often, I'd have a seat all the way to there and a big pad down there, just to sort of hold you in place a little bit. And yeah, for shorter riders, it is quite a stretch. And on that subject as well, its low speed manners are not the best, especially in the superbike class. So the steering lock is really tight. So you've got to be very, very careful when doing tight turns. The clutch is nice, but it's quite, you know, as soon as you release it, you start to get some, as you do on all sports bikes. So you've got to be, you know, really careful when you're stopping, turning around, and
do you think that's clutch or just kind of the nature of the response? Because I was going to ask how you got on with that short action throttle over a longer term. Did you dial into it? Because on the group test, I didn't like it at all.
It's pretty like wild, because it almost feels like a race throttle. And because you've got so much torque and so much power, like the torque comes in quite early, and just on that, you only need a little sort of 10% twist for it to go whoop. So you've got to be really aware at low speeds. If you're doing U-turns, if you're riding through town and stuff like that, it's not the best bike for the job by any stretch of the imagination.
No, which is kind of a little bit of a departure from where, because I sort of remember the earlier S1000RRs, and they were almost like a continuation of the Fireblade at the time. They were very, very usable, but they've gone a little bit more aggressive in recent years. In terms of all the electronic doodads and different modes and things, do you spend much time playing with those? Have you kind of found certain things that are good, bad?
Yeah, so I don't know, this might bore some people, but I really like to, you know, get involved in what the bike's doing. I like to change modes a lot, change settings a lot. I like playing around with stuff, maybe just because I'm, you know, young and bored.
Young, got no attention span yet.
Got no attention
Too many reels
span.
on Instagram.
Yeah, so in its road guys, with all of the sort of bits that you want to see when you're riding on the road, it is incredible. So, you know, if you want to see your MPG, your fuel tank range, if you want to see what time it is, what temperature, we've got tyre pressure sensors on this model, and, you know, all of that information is really easy to cycle through, really easy to see, and for the road, that's spot on. In the race settings, I feel like this is a dashboard interface that has been designed for a bike from sort of 6 years ago and hasn't sort of been updated to the latest sort of spec.
Yeah.
So
just funny that, 'cause that's when this platform came out 6 years ago.
So when you jump on some of its other competitors, you can cycle through each riding age. You've got your wheelie control, you know, your slide controls, your engine braking, all of that sort of stuff you can adjust on the fly easily. It's super, super easy to see, really easy to swallow. You can even see when you're using certain rider modes as well on some of its competitors. And I really love that. Like if you've got all this tech, you want to utilize it, and it's so amazing. You want to be able to, you know, really dial in what you want. It's like dialing in the suspension. You want to be able to get it to where you want it, and, you know, what makes you a better rider, what makes you a faster and a safer rider. And even just getting into the race pro settings on these, even just working out the plus and the minus of where the traction control sits, or changing, you know, the engine braking, it's a palaver. And like, so much so that, you know, Nevesy's had S1000RRs since probably before I was born.
Yeah.
And even he rang me up when he was at Cadwell because he needed help getting into the menu.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a simple setup. It feels like a setup that's not made for the amount of rider aids and, you know, the sort of customization that you need.
It does feel like there's a certain level of assumed knowledge there. Because
Yes.
I mean, I should probably sort of explain to people that have not ridden one of these. They're sort of +7, -7. Your traction control settings, there are 14 of them. But like I say, there's what does -7 mean to anybody? Is that good, bad? Am I going to
The manual doesn't even make sense. I was like reading through the manual and going through everything, and it's like we're really lucky. We get to ride loads of bikes, we get to experience loads of different interfaces, electronics and stuff like that. And
We have to get tuned into it.
yeah, and like pretty much every sports bike I can get dialed into near enough straight away. And this thing, it's sort of like I'm still tripping up on it, and I'm using it every week.
Yeah. Because I mean, what have we got? We've got mode button over here, then another menu there. We've got the magic wheel, whatever it's called.
The wheels. I love it on the GSA and like the XR and stuff, where you're not explicitly, you know, trying to dial in stuff so intricately.
Yeah.
But for something like this, like you can get on the Panigale and you can, you know, you can turn the wheelie control down to 1, turn the traction control up to 4, you know, get the tyres warm, turn the traction control down to 1. You can just, it's just super simple, super easy.
I mean, obviously the R1 is out of the UK market at the moment, but that and the R9's interface, so it's just click, 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 and you do it all on the fly. It's a different game, so. Yes, and then, although have you found that you've now sort of settled into a baseline setting and you don't need to fiddle, or is it kind of, do you need to tune it for every single situation that you're riding in?
You definitely don't need to. You could have this as a one-trick pony. You could set it up in a road mode, for example, and you could live with that. But you've got so much on it. I just want to play around with it, and especially now it's getting chilly. I've got a set of super courses on it. You know, I like to have a little bit of a safety net. Electronics are there to help you out. They're there to look after you, and you know, in some instances, they are incredibly beneficial. So yeah, I do mess around with it. Well, yeah, every ride really.
Yeah, I mean, what's this thing got? The tyre is kind of
200 odd.
Yeah. So it's with the best will in the world, everybody's going to have their off day, and it's nice to have that safety net when you've not quite woken up in the morning and
and it's just, you've paid for all these rider aids, you paid for them to be developed, use them. Simple as.
Sure. And then I'm going to come on to your touring trip with your wife. Now, I should kind of say is that your wife is built very similar to you, very kind of quite petite as well.
Yeah, she's pretty flexible as well, so she can get on that.
Yeah.
Whereas
Now, as I recall, you had an interesting seating arrangement for at least part of that trip.
Yes. So as it goes, it's quite difficult to strap luggage onto this thing if you want to have a pillion. I got a tank bag for it. It was a BMW accessory tank bag. It was about 260 quid. So it was on the expensive side of things. And it was a bit small, but it did the job for sort of essentials. And the problem that we ran into was that the seat unit is so big. When my partner's on the back, she can't actually reach me without sitting on my seat. So after a bit of ingenuity with some bags and some straps and some other bits, we actually worked out how to do it with backpacks and to have a holding on via that and with straps. And yeah, it's probably not the best pillion bike in the world. Like, it's perfectly fine for a half-hour ride, but for 10 days riding back from the middle of Austria.
No.
Like, Daisy's my wife's pretty sort of easygoing. She's pretty chilled out.
She'd have to be to live with you, to be fair.
Yeah, well, she's still married to me, so it's all good. But yeah, it's a really small, hard seat, and the actual space from the seat to the pillion pegs is very small, so it's really cramped. So yeah, if you're looking to be doing big pillion tricks on it, just don't. That's it.
I guess that's not unexpected for
no,
something
and
like
it's not
this.
fair on this bike. To be honest, like, it has a pillion seat, it has pillion pegs. It did the job. Like, we wanted it as a laugh. It's an experience, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the main thing.
It's done, and you never have to do it again and risk your marriage for
Until next year.
No, and I guess you did briefly mention it earlier, but the riding position in terms of track stuff, I don't think you always like how it feels on circuit.
No, so yeah, once again, it's a bit big for me. It's a bit too roomy. So I'm very small. I find that the actual tank is really big. So getting up and over and, across to the bars where you want to be, I sort of find it's a bit of a struggle and a bit of a reach, and I'm sort of holding on with straighter arms and not bent and not relaxed. And then as well, when I'm braking, I've got my arms too straight because I'm sort of trying to push myself back up. And yeah, it's a bike made for bigger people, I think, in all honesty. Like, if you're 5'10" and above, this is the dream. But like, when I jump on the Fireblade, it's all really compact and really small, and that actually suits me better. Like, I've grown up riding sports bikes. I've always ridden sports bikes. I'm quite happy with that more aggressive riding position, but I'd almost want it more aggressive than this.
Yeah, I mean, it's a funny thing, because obviously I am 6 foot, and even I feel it's a little bit big, and if you're going from one side here, it almost feels like you're climbing from one foot peg up over the seat and get it's a bit, whereas
if that's for you, it's like a mountain for me.
And I mean, sometimes them being a bit bigger still isn't comfortable for somebody who is bigger. Sometimes having a small narrow bike, you've got plenty of space to move around, whereas this, because it's bigger, it sort of forces you into a limited number of positions.
Yeah, exactly that. Like, it's it will suit some people. If you've got limited movement in your legs and your joints, it'll be an absolute godsend to you. But if you want to be cracking out the elbow downs every week, there are easier bikes to do it on.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're all doing that on the way to work, Carl. So
yeah, I would never do such a thing.
Yeah. So I guess we're about to kind of wrap up, really. So when you open the garage door, what are the kind of top 3 things that you are looking forward to and appreciate about this, and what are the 3 things that you are kind of least like about it on a day-to-day basis and general use?
I know it sounds really stupid, but just the noise when you start it up.
Yeah.
Like, when you got it, it's got that sort of roar to it. Even if
just a little rev flare.
Yeah, it does a little bob. Like, it's really nice. Like, when it's warming up, it only let you rev it a certain way, but it does a little, like, when it fires into action, it sort of goes, I'm in business, so bring it. And it's just, it's just nice, isn't it? Like, you've got that big 999cc motor just ready to roar.
Yeah.
I think the engine is the main attraction for this, even though, other bikes make more power, maybe other bikes make more torque. I think the fact that you can ride it, I can just sit on the motorway at 70 with it on cruise control. Mm-hmm. And like, when I've been doing longer journeys on it, I haven't been worried about it. I haven't been thinking, I don't want to do that. I think the fact that it has got that flexibility where I can sort of have a little lay down on the tank, get nice and tucked in, get my music on. You know, that's been really nice. And third, I'd have to say, when you're obviously on a closed road and you press the very naughty button that turns the electronic rider aids off, and you give it some hell, because there's nothing like riding a litre bike in the world. You know, there's nothing that compares to how it feels. And no matter how bad your day's been, how busy you are, how many emails are stacking up, or how many dishes you need to clean, just jumping on one of these things is sort of the best tonic just for cleansing the soul, really. That's what I've loved about this.
And then your 3 aggravations.
I'm going to say electronics first. The interface. Another thing I didn't mention earlier is the connectivity is a pain in the backside to go through the BMW app. If you've got it connected and you've got connected to an intercom, it sort of jumps between the two. Every time you switch the engine on, it takes it off the intercom, which is annoying. So yeah, the electronic interface is definitely number one. I think number 2 would be the riding position and the sheer size of it. Yeah. Because that is, you know, it's been something that I've always had to think about. Like, even on big adventure bikes that are as tall, you're sort of, because you've got the big bars, they're really easy to sort of move around and manage. But because you've got such limited steering lock on this,
quite a high centre of gravity, it feels like, as well. I mean, it feels like it's on tippy toes. Yeah,
like I'm on tippy toes on 1 foot. So it's, I've always got to sort of be aware of my surroundings, where I'm stopping, where I'm going, where I'm turning around. You know, it's always something that's at the back of my head. And another one,
I'm going to slightly put words in your mouth, because sort of part of the feedback that we, again, throwing back to the group test, is that we felt this lacked a little bit of personality next to the V4 Panigale, and then the Fireblade, which has had a rocket up its backside and suddenly found some life.
I think that's the thing. And to be honest, like I feel bad sort of bringing that up when we're talking about this bike in isolation, but last week I was lucky enough to ride it on track. Ride, not this exact one, but ride on track on a tyre launch, and we had the Panigale V4, we had some sort of race spec R1s, and I jumped on this first just to get a feel for the tyres. Mm-hmm. But then as soon as I jumped on the Panigale and the Fireblade and the R1, I was like, sort of, this is such like a solid package. Yeah. Like, it just does everything so well and sort of refined, and it's got that bit of aggression to it, but like, it's not as refined electronically as the Ducati, it's not as exciting as the Honda, and it doesn't have that purr that the cross-plane crank in the R1 offers. And I think, although none of these litre bikes perfect, you'd like to take, you know, bits from each one. This is sort of the big cosy road going armchair of the bunch. Yeah,
I guess in some ways it's kind of the rounded one that takes a little bit of all, kind of jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah, like it is, like on track, it is a gnarly thing, and you know, you got to, like, especially when I took it to Brands Indy earlier this year, it's still a handful to hold on to. But I think when you jump on some bikes, they are unforgettable, and although this is special and super awesome, it doesn't have that sort of modern classic superbike feel to it that in 30 years time that it's going to be something explosive.
I guess it's more about for people that prefer kind of them to be efficient. It's sort of a very German cliche, but kind of just sort of functional, do the job and not be an issue, really. Whereas I guess some people will trade a bit of that for the sparkle of an RSV4 or the kind of drama of a Panigale.
Yes, yeah, exactly that. It sort of, I think it does everything that BMW have asked it to, and what flavour you want from your sports bike depends on how you ride and what you want, really.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the kind of acid test, would you buy one?
So there's 2 answers to this. One is, as a road bike, I wouldn't, but, and this is quite a big but, if I was to build a proper track bike, money no object, you know, put a proper ECU, put the suspension on it, put a nice dash on it, I'd probably buy the M1000RR.
Yeah.
So, you know, the two sides of the coin there. It's a brilliant road bike. For me, it's just a little bit too big, and because of that, I love it, but I couldn't live with it. Actually,
that's probably a point worth touching, because you've ridden the M1000RR this year, and in this spec, this is not a great deal, kind of less expensive. You almost, would you take the leap as a road bike to the M1000RR over the kind of every box ticked version that we have here.
I'm a sucker for the RR's standard non-electronic suspension. So, and I think I'd just chuck them out and put some nice internals on it. So if I had a bike like this myself and I was using it predominantly for the track, I would just take the Leap for the RR, and just for the kudos factor as well, because it just looks gnarly in those colours, and you know, it's got the slightly different aerodynamics. It's just a weapon. Yeah. So, you know, I'm a slave to the aesthetics.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for your feedback on that. If you do have a 2025, the updated S1000RR, and want to sort of have a back and forth, please drop a comment below. Let us know how you got on, whether you agree with him, disagree, think he's talking out of his rear end. Please do let us know. Thank you for watching. We've got more long-term videos coming soon, so make sure you click subscribe so you see more of those. We've also got them from previous years too, so if you want to look at something a little bit older, that's there as well. Thank you for watching. See you again soon.